Good evening and welcome to our session tonight. My name is Anita McKenzie and I'm going to be joined by our lovely Tasman Water. Um, and Tasman is our director and founder of Premi Connect. Hi, Tasman.
Hi, Anita. Thank you for having me tonight.
You're welcome. So I'm just going to give you a little bio on this amazing lady that's joining us tonight. Tasman Bota is the founder and the executive director of Premi Connect, which is a South African support network for parents of premature babies. She's also a proud parent representative for the GFCNI, which is the Global Foundation for the Care of Newborn Infants, advocating for families and newborn care worldwide. So, Tasman, I really want to say thank you for joining us tonight and just welcome today to this session. And knowing that it's just a few days after we celebrated your world, uh, let me get this correct.
Prematurity.
It's yeah. Yes, the team that you used for the World Prem Babies for this year was giving premature babies a strong start for a brighter future. Am I correct?
Yeah, that was our theme for this year. It kind of aligns up with what the World Health Organization's theme was for their campaign for this year, which was healthy beginnings, bright future, something like that. So we kind of amalgamated the two so that we are standing in one. And basically, yeah, we just want everyone to know that if preterms receive all the help, all the support, all the treatment that they need in the beginning stages, they will thrive throughout life.
Wow. Thank you. And that is so important. It's like looking at a foundation. You know, your foundation's got to be strong in order to build on top of that. And we can just take that, look at that as a scenario. But thank you so much for sharing that. And maybe, Jasmine, maybe you can start by telling us a little bit about yourself, maybe what inspired you to start this Premi Connect.
Awesome. So a little bit about me. I'm a mom of three boys, actually. My middle son is my preemie. And yeah, when I'm not doing preemie stuff, I am working from home as an online teacher, but my passion lies in maternal and newborn health. I'm also a wife. And yeah, our journey started very unexpectedly, which is the case with most preterm parents. Everything was going great until it wasn't going great. And my baby was born at 28 weeks gestation. He weighed slightly over a kilogram, 108 kilograms at birth. And yeah, we were just thrusted into this world that we knew absolutely nothing about. And it was quite the roller coaster journey, which we still, up until this day, my son is 8 years old now. We are still on that roller coaster ride.
Um, yeah, and like you say, it's not something that you expect. It just happens, and you got to go. Go with the flow. You got to learn so much at that time, how to cope, etc. And I'm sure, for new moms, it must be really difficult. And like you said, this was your second baby that was a preemie. And maybe what are some of the most common misconceptions that you have around babies that are prep?
I think for me, the biggest one is that people just assume they're just small, right? They're small and they will grow up, they're gonna catch up. And they are not only small, but everything is underdeveloped. And I think that is where so many issues come, whereby people just think they're tiny. They just little full-term babies. Like that's the misconception. And the truth is, again, like I said, everything is underdeveloped. And when everything is underdeveloped, there are so many you have to just be extra, extra careful, extra, extra vigilant, extra, extra aware. Like some things that you might do with a full-term baby, you can't necessarily do with a preterm baby. Following protocol is actually of utmost importance in order to make sure that the baby does end up thriving. And the sad thing is because prematurity is such a taboo subject, especially in our communities, especially in communities of color, we find that our mortality rate is higher post discharge than in the unit, because in the unit everybody has their roles, they know what they're doing, but then we are discharging babies to families and to communities that know absolutely nothing about prematurity. And I think that is one of the biggest battles that we are fighting, because yes, even I feel like the language that is being used, and it's something that not only us as parents are fighting for, but the preterms who have now grown up to be adults are fighting for the change in the use of language. One of the things that is most commonly heard is that preemies will catch up by the age of 2. And although that is the hope, that is the wish, that is not the case for a lot of preterm babies. And I know as a mother, I clung to those words with everything that my being had. And when we reached 2 years old, my son still had not caught up. And so, yeah, I think these are things that need to be changed. Obviously, systems need to be changed, language needs to be changed, and our fight is the reason why World Prematurity Day exists, the reason why we raise awareness, the reason why we light up purple is because we want prematurity to be so well known, just like other um, diseases and other health issues like HIV and cancer. When someone mentions those topics, you at least have an idea. You might not understand fully, but you have an idea, of what those topics are about. But when we bring up prematurity, if you have not experienced for yourself, or if you don't know somebody close to you who has experienced it, you know nothing about that topic. And so that is our goal, is not only to support parents through their journey, but to get the rest of the community, the rest of the world aware that such a thing exists and how they can support the families and the children that are affected by it.
Wow, Tasman, thank you so much for that. And like you say, if you look at you talk about your communities and other communities, and when we talk about that, I don't think from what you're saying, it's the awareness that's actually there, not just for the parents that having the premature baby, the families, and like you say, it differs from culture to culture, or you call it like taboo in that situation. And what do you feel that, or how do you feel we can create this awareness by making people out there know or break the stigma? Like we talk about breaking
Mm.
the stigma for mental health and breaking the stigma for that. Like you bring this about premies in. It's like, how do we break the stigma? What can we do as people?
It's definitely educating ourselves, not waiting for something to personally affect you in
Mm,
order to
mm,
know about it. There are so many resources available at the touch of a screen. Like we're all on social media all the time. We're all always Googling something or putting something into GPT. It's very hard because prematurity is such a niche section of maternal health, and there aren't very many organizations on the ground. So we rely on parents, especially the parents, because they are the ones that are most affected by it, to spread the word, to educate the people around them. And we then ask the people that we are sharing the knowledge with to pay it forward in that way. Yeah, unfortunately, we just need more organizations, more support, more platforms like this to, and not only once a year, because November, like, is the month, it's prematurity awareness month, so everybody is talking a lot about prematurity, but there are preemie babies being born daily. We can't
mm,
only talk about this for 1 month or 1 week or 1 day. This is happening every day, and every day there's a parent who's sitting next to a NICU incubator not knowing what the future holds, not knowing where can they get answers for, not having support. Because even in that moment, you are running on pure adrenaline, right? You yourself have no idea what is going on. You have no idea what to expect. People are speaking in words that you've never ever heard before. And that is the reason why Premier Connect was started, was so that we could provide peer-to-peer support. And the Premier Connect dream has always been to have a support group in every hospital across the country that has a NICU, so that parents know that they can go to someone who, one, has been through what they have been through, and who, two, can decipher and explain the language in a way in which they understand, in a language in which they understand. Because as a country that has 11 official languages, and that's besides we have a lot of expats in our country as well, there's such a barrier. There are so many barriers to this. Not only the fact that you in this world that you know nothing of, and they're speaking in terminology that you know nothing of. Sometimes they can't even understand basic English. And this is why it's so important to have organizations like ours working alongside, because the goal is to work alongside the healthcare professionals. We want to bridge the gap between the parents and the clinicians. And yeah, it has proven to be not an easy feat, unfortunately.
No, no, no. I hear you. You know, Tasman, I hear what you're saying. And just by you talking, I can just hear the passion that comes with it and the need for starting Creamy as well. And if you don't mind me asking you, during your personal journey, what were some of the moments that were most difficult for you as a parent? Like,
I'm gonna have to start like from the moment that my child was born. I was rushed in for an emergency C-section. I was put out. So I didn't even know if my child was alive when I opened my eyes. That was literally the first thing that I asked the nurse was, is my baby alive? And then nobody prepared me for what a premature baby looks like. They told me, yes, you had a baby boy. He came out screaming, which apparently is a good thing. It said that the lungs were doing what they needed to do. Um, but, and then they're like, your baby weighs 1 kilo. And I'm like thinking, okay, 1 kilo from 2.5 kilo, which is the, normal birth weight, it's a kilo difference. But a kilo difference when it comes to a preterm baby is huge. In fact, fat is one of the last things to develop in utero. So preterm babies don't get that fat. And so he was quite literally skin and bones. When I say skin over a skeleton, that's how he looked. So I was not prepared for that. And so I walk into a NICU. I've never stepped foot into a NICU. Firstly, there's all these rules and regulations before you can even enter the NICU, a bunch of stuff that you have to do before. And then you walk in, and your baby is in an incubator hooked up to what seems like, it's not, but it seems like a million wires, tubes, machines. There's all these sounds going off all the time. And I felt like a deer in headlights. And when I saw how tiny my baby was, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, there's just no way that he's gonna survive. And so I was preparing myself mentally for the worst. I didn't want to bond with my baby. I didn't want to touch. I didn't want to anything, because like I'm trying to prepare myself. I'm gonna have to bury my child. And not because anybody said anything along those lines. That was me living in my own head, in my own thoughts. And this is where support comes in so much. I am so grateful for the husband that I have. We're not the most religious people, but very spiritual, and he spoke life over our child from day one. And he was the one that was trying to be involved. He was the one trying to change nappies when we were allowed to, trying to feed. And by the time I saw my child after he was born, he was already on life support. So in my mind, that really meant the end. But after a week of being on a ventilator, he came off the ventilator. And that's when I was like, okay, he's fighting. I am going to have to fight alongside him. And that's what I did. As long as he was still fighting, and it was difficult, none of it was easy. Um, and a lot of the time, you don't know how to express that to other people as well. and you are living on pure adrenaline. Some days I was just trying to make it hour to hour. I couldn't even think about what the next day had in store for me. And so that's why I know that even when we go and we do these premature events, when we go into the NICUs, for me, it's not even about talking, the so much, because I feel like parents are so in it that you actually can't even absorb the information that are receiving. It's more about telling the parents that you need this help. I didn't know that I needed help. I didn't know that I needed support. And I'm sure even if they said to me, oh, go see the psychologist, I wouldn't have, because for me, every minute away from my child was a moment that I was missing out on. And I didn't want to miss out. I didn't want to miss any key information. I feel like I eventually became an honorary nurse because I would arrive at 9 a.m. in the morning and I would leave at 8 p.m. at night, just sitting, making sure my baby is breathing. At one point, that was my only job because he suffered from apnea of prematurity, and that's where that he just randomly stopped breathing. And it was my job to wake him up to remind him, because the brain is so immature, it forgets to send that signal. So I would have to wake him up and remind him to breathe. So for a long time, that was my sole purpose, was making sure that my child breathed. And yeah, it's such a difficult situation. And then one day we just went home. And I couldn't even believe when they told me we are being discharged. It was so unexpected. I thought they were going to change their minds. I phoned my husband, I'm sure, a million times. You better come. You better come. You better come. Thinking that they're going to turn around and be like, no, we're joking. You guys can't go home. But then I was afraid because I was like, how can they trust me to be able to take care of this tiny human on my own? And I felt like if I felt that way, I'm sure everybody else does too. But luckily, in the journey, there were a bunch of moms that our babies were born round about the same time. We would all be sitting in the milk room expressing together, and we formed this bond. And so when we got discharged, I started this WhatsApp group, which has gone on to become the Premier Connect support group, our WhatsApp support group. And we still have the veteran moms on there till today, whereby we can provide the safe space at a touch of a button for parents to have instant access to someone who has been where they are. Sometimes you just need to hear that, you know what, it's okay for you to break down today. It's okay for you not to go to the NICU today. It's okay for you if you're angry and you're upset, because these are real feelings. Nobody expects their pregnancy to end just like that.
Like that.
Yeah, so there are layers to this prematurity thing,
Just
unfortunately.
listening to that, yes, exactly. And it just doesn't give you, as that mom, the time to like settle in, and the moment you've been waiting for to be with your baby. Can you maybe talk us through that? What do you actually, or what can you tell moms out there or parents out there, just to give them that little piece of um hope that everything will be okay? I know it's a journey, I
Mm.
know it's a process, and only once you've been through it do you understand how it feels. It's all about the lived experience, and you are talking from that today. And to all our audience out there as well, it's coming from the heart because you've been through this, you know what's going on, you know?
So I never want to sit here and give false hope, right? Because the truth and the reality of prematurity is that not all babies get to go home. Some
Mm.
babies get to go home, some babies don't stay. So, what I can tell you is that preemies, as tiny as they are, I have witnessed now hundreds of them, are the most resilient people that you will find. That baby will fight with everything that they have in them until they can't anymore, or until they are able to overcome what their circumstances are. I even look at my son today and I'm still in awe. I'm still in awe of how he will always, even if he can't do something, he will always try again until he is able to achieve it. And I say I don't want to give false hope, because you might find that a baby doesn't have too many issues in the infancy stage or even in the toddler stage, or you might find out as you transition to become into toddler stage, there are issues that are picked up, Or as we're also realizing that when they get to school level, then we come and we start finding they have learning disabilities and things like that. So what I do want parents to know, and I always tell the parents that I speak to, is always keep at the back of your mind that your baby was born prematurely, regardless of what the language is saying, that yes, they catch up by 2 and all these things. It is your, I want to say your sword, right? That you gonna have to fight because unfortunately we're forever fighting against systems that aren't designed for preterm babies. And to always make sure that you have a community around you that gets it, that understands, and that's going to help you advocate because advocating also becomes tiresome at times. At times you just want to give in to whatever it is that people are saying and accepting. And I always say to my parents, you're allowed to grieve, right? Give yourself that moment to grieve. You can grieve the pregnancy, you can grieve that your baby was born early, you can grieve if you receive a diagnosis. Because, as in our case, when my son was 4 years old, he was diagnosed with mild hypertonic cerebral palsy. In his case, it's very mild. And what that means is he had some brain damage, either in utero or early after birth, and that affected his muscles of his body. So he's got low muscle tone, which is hypertonia. And so, again, my dreams and my hopes were shattered, right? I think I was a little bit more prepared, but I don't think you also ever are prepared, right? Because I obviously, through the work that I do, I have a little bit more access than the average parent. So I could already see signs and symptoms. And eventually someone did confirm what I was thinking. But still, I cried like a baby. And I said to my husband, right, we're gonna sit, we'll mourn this out for a day. That's as long as I'm giving myself. Tomorrow we hit the ground running with putting in place a game plan so that we can better support him, so that we can get the help that he needs. And that is what we did. And compared to 4 years ago, it's been 4 years now of intense therapies, occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, of finding schools that can understand what our needs and our wants are. But God has been so amazing in how He strategically placed people in my life. And He has sent the right people at the right time to provide the right help and support. And even in our support group, if I don't know about a condition or a sign or a symptom, I make it my mission to find information, to find resources, to find support, because I believe everyone deserves that. And every child deserves to flourish wherever it is that they are. Whether it is in a remedial school, like again, another taboo subject, especially in communities of color. We feel like if someone has a diagnosis, we should bottle them away and put them in a corner, never ever to be seen again. And there are people that I have met, I have seen with my own 2 eyes, who are flourishing, that received devastating diagnoses when they were younger, and they are living full lives on their own alongside their diagnosis. So a diagnosis does not mean the end of the world. For me, I needed a name to put to what was wrong with my child so that I would know how to fight this thing. But he's never defined by his diagnosis. And so I just want my parents to know that regardless of how the situation goes, how it starts or how it may end, please know that your baby is here for a reason, for a purpose, and there is support for you and your child.
Um, Tasman, thank you so much for sharing that. There's just so much in what you've just shared. And it, like you said, your child's not their diagnosis. And
Mm-mm.
it's so important. It's so important to just absorb that and just, understand that. And I just want to ask you, you talk about your support group. How does your support group help parents of preemies connect and share experiences? And what access and guidance do they have during these challenging times?
So the support group is a peer-to-peer support group, first and
Mhm.
foremost. And so there you are allowed to ask questions in a way that feels safe, right? Because sometimes we don't understand. In fact, a lot of the time, till today, I still struggle to understand medical terminology. So you can ask in a language, that is suitable to you.
Suitable.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and because of the work that I do with GFC and I, we it gives me access to the evidence-based research that sometimes is not easy for the average person to find. And trust me, I tried looking for those informations, for those statistics, for yeah, I went on a global search in order to find information. And when I couldn't get that information, I decided to become that resource of information. So when we are not clinicians in any way, and I always tell parents that I'm not a doctor, but I can provide you evidence base. But I've also, through their lived experience, through my lived experience, I'll take something, for example, a cold. Like a simple cold is not always a simple cold, especially when it comes to a preterm baby. I have had parents have to I've had they be like, my baby is breathing funny. Now, you saying my baby is breathing funny, I don't know what that means. I've had parents, I tell them, can you take a video of your baby? I want to see how the chest is moving. And I'm able to say, your baby's in distress, go to the hospital immediately. And these just come from being surrounded by a lot of clinicians, going through experiences with other parents. We have saved a lot of babies whereby parents, they're just scared. And also, you get tired of the hospital system. If you've been in the hospital for 4 or 5, sometimes parents are in the hospital up until a year. Like, it gets exhausting. And thereafter, once your baby is discharged, you're still going back monthly, some weekly, for these follow-up appointments. So sometimes a parent just doesn't want to unnecessarily go to the hospital. But I also tell my parents, be that parent, be the extra parent, be the
Okay.
parent that's always asking questions, be the parent that you rather go to the hospital and find out nothing is wrong than to stay home and then something terrible ends up happening. So that's what the support group does. It provides a place where you can vent, where you can cry, where you can be angry, where you can scream, you can shout. Many a times while I was in the NICU, I was feeling all these emotions. But I always tell my parents, never walk into the NICU with those emotions. You leave them at the door. Your child needs your positivity. They need you to speak life over them because they can sense. Remember, if there's one thing that a baby knows, it knows its mother, right? Your heartbeat is the heartbeat that it heard for however many weeks it was. Your smell, your scent, that is all that your baby knows. So when you walk into that NICU, walk in, fake it until you make it. Pretend like you are happy. It's a rainbows and sunshine. And when you walk out, you can pick up your grief again. I have had, when we were in at one, a doctor found me sitting on the stairs, bawling my eyes out when they had given me some sort of diagnosis of my child. And I cried my tears. And when I got up and I went back in, I was positive. And it's not easy to do. And I'm not saying that it's easy
Mm.
to do. It definitely isn't. And if you need to take a break, take a break. I know it's hard. I had to learn how to take a break during that NICU experience. I couldn't miss a day, but like on weekends, I would delay the start time that I would go in just so that I could get a little extra sleep. But also back then, I had another child at home who wasn't hardly seeing mommy and daddy at that time. And you just know that you are doing the best, right? And in the support group, that you're going to get that positive reinforcement, you're going to get the information that you require, and we will support you along the journey for as long as you need us to. Some parents, it's only for a year. Some parents, it's only for that time that they're in the NICU. And then you have the vets, we're still going strong. It's been years that we've been doing this. So yeah, we provide what it is that the parents need.
Yeah, Desmond, thank you so much for that. And you know what? Like you say, it's hard putting on that positive front when you know what you're going through, but you're doing this for the sake of your baby, for the
Yeah.
baby to heal, for the baby to get better, and you're going through this process. And I know, like you said, fake it till you make it. You know, you have that. You got to be strong, and sometimes it's really hard for a mom going through or seeing her baby, like you said,
Oh,
you look at a skeletal under the skin, and that's how sometimes nothing prepares you to see your baby in that state. And it's all this that we're hearing or listening to you through lived experience as to what some of the parents actually go through. And like you said, for some it could be weeks, for some months, or even years. And that's how long the process, the period goes in order to heal or for the baby to heal, etc. So I thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I just want to ask you from your perspective. and during your stay in the NICU. What was the most promising thing to you? What gave you the most support?
I must be honest, like our neonatal team were amazing. In fact, I want to say the whole hospital team because from the security, the
Oh,
cleaners, all the way up to the nurses and the doctors, who some of them I still am in contact with today, who I can still pick up the phone if I have an issue or if I have a mom that's having an issue. They were amazing. And they too, I think, especially in the public sector, right, they get such a bad rap. And I love the fact that now I get to see it from both sides. I can see it from the parent perspective, but I get to see it from the healthcare professionals perspective. And they too are fighting systems, and they too, they're humans just like us. And they are just as invested in your baby as you are. Each and every single baby that they are with, they are rooting for them. They are doing the best that they can to provide the support and the care. And then on top of it, they still end up being counselors to parents. Many a
yeah.
time, the nurses had to hold both me and my husband as we were crying. And 2 minutes later, they have to turn around and resuscitate someone else's baby. So there is so much going on in the NICU. And I felt not only my pain, I felt the pain of other parents. I felt for babies whose parents couldn't be there due to financial circumstances, due to the fact that their jobs were not giving them time off, due to having to decide money or my child's health. Some were young moms who were still at school. And all I wanted to do was just take everyone and all the babies and everybody and just wrap them up in my arms. And so I would come in, and I know, like the babies whose parents can't come, I would stop by the incubator, speak to them. I would be peeping to see, okay, what are they doing with the baby today? How's the baby doing today? And there's one particular baby that till this day I still think about. But it's rough, and I take my hats off to all parents that go through this journey. It rocks not only you as a parent, it tests the relationships that you have between you and your partner, between you and your friends and family, because they also don't understand why can't they come see the baby. Or even after when we got discharged, I was so deathly afraid of going back to hospital. We went straight into isolation. So my family, actually, my baby came home in May. So that was flu season. I was like, I'm not allowing anybody who is resembling a cold to come near me. Like even my husband and my son, when they used to come back from work and school, would have to strip, take all those clothes off, put fresh clothes on, wash and sanitize their hands. That's how
Oh,
afraid I was of him getting sick. My extended family only got to meet my child in the summertime because I was like, I'm not going back there. If there's one thing I can promise myself is he's not going back because of something I could have prevented. I know I was extreme, but I was traumatized by the NICU experience.
experience. No, doesn't thank you for that. And it's a mother's instinct. I'm going to protect my baby however I want to do it, and
Yes.
that's my yes, it's my duty as a mom. I'm going to do it. Thank you for sharing that. Oh yeah, we're going to wrap up now, but I just want to ask you quickly if there are any resources or websites or books that you can recommend for parents who are going through the prematurity journey.
There are so many. I love how social media has advanced so much because you can find what you need at the touch of a button. I wrote
Right.
some down because I didn't want to forget, but I think the newest and the most resourceful one is the one that the GFC and I have developed, which is called Neopedia. And so you just go search neopedia.org, and it literally gives you a step by step from pregnancy all the way up to discharge and life after that, what to expect, signs and symptoms. So I think that is a great one to start with. We have some amazing authors and professors who have developed stuff here in South Africa. One I wanted to mention was Professor Velma Lube. From Little Steps, she's also a professor at Northwest University. She's got this amazing book called Adjusting Your Dream, and she speaks from the parent perspective, but also from the clinician, which I think is wonderful. And then there are a bunch of preemie parents who have come out and they've made books. Um, from their baby's perspective, but for children. So in animation form, which I think is so great. My
Okay.
son was lucky to be gifted one, which was our Supreme. There's also our Premier Adventures. A good friend of mine who is based in Namibia just did the Mysterious Book of Magic, which speaks to differently able children, which I think is so amazing, and how they are part of society and how we as society should be embracing them. But there are lots and lots and lots, and if I give you all of them, we'll be here for another 1 hour.
Oh, well. Yeah,
But definitely, and
Jasmine,
there's are some
yeah,
wonderful podcasts as well that you guys should listen to as well.
listen to it. So, you know what, Tasman, thank you so much. We're going to wrap up now, but I just want to say thank you so much for being here tonight, for this abundance of information that you've actually expressed on this session that we had. You know what? It fills me. Yes, I haven't been through on your journey, but I am a mom, and it just fills your heart knowing that people are going through this, but there's avenues that you could look at. There's research, there's resources, there's so much information out there, like you just said, where people can go and they can reach out. But I just want to say thank you so much for everything that you shared with us today. And we come to the end of the session. So to all our audience as well, thank you for watching. And Tasmin, if there's a something that you'd like to part with, please do.
Thank you so much. I just want to say what SADAG is doing is amazing. And it's so wonderful to be a part of SADAG and to be working alongside you guys. And just to any parent who finds themselves in the NICU right now, or somebody that knows of someone who is in the NICU right now, please know that you are not alone. Please know that there are people out there who are there to support you, guide you every step of the way, and that also it's okay to not be okay. Take the time that you need for your own self, for your mental health, because if mommy is good, baby will be good as well. And yes, you can find us on all the social medias at Premi Connect. We are very active on there. We will reply to your DMs. And we obviously vet everybody before we add them to our support groups, because it is a safe space and we want to keep it as a safe space. But also, Premier Connect has 4 support groups. We have grown over the years. So it's not only preterm babies, we also have a differently abled support group for special needs parents. We have a loss support group for parents who have lost their babies due to not only prematurity, other reasons as well. And our standard mom support group, because like Anita says, as a mom, we all need help, we all need support, and you don't have to be affected by something to stand up and raise awareness for that something.
Exactly. Wow. Well said, Tasman. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you. And goodbye. Bye.